What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Life Coach Zach podcast. I'm your host, Zach Rance, certified life coach, certified nutritionist, mental health advocate, meditation master. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, though, thanks so much for stopping by. I like to bring guests on here that are leaders in their chosen field, whether it's a doctor or nutritionist, or maybe just another life coach or spirituality coach. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity that I can share it with you guys. I hope you enjoy. How's your day going so far?
Not bad. It just started pretty much. Woke up, showered. Now I'm talking to you pretty much, but it's good. I'm in Los Angeles, so it's like
really
10 a.m. for me.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to hop on the Life Coach Zach podcast today. To all the people that are listening, my guest is Anish Mitra. Money Moves on Instagram, ex-Goldman Sachs VP, Wall Street and Silicon Valley, made fun and easy. Anish, dude, thank you so much for coming today.
Yo, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us what you do, my guy.
So, wow, that's a tough question to answer. I'll give you some background. I used to work, I'm from New York, I'm from Queens, I'm Indian. And I worked in finance for almost 9 to 10 years. And I've done a couple of things in finance. I did investment banking for a while. And then I was at Goldman doing stuff on the buy side, buying insurance companies and in talent management. But the entire time, I just felt like I wasn't doing anything meaningful or creative. And, big surprise working at a bank. So last year, I decided to move to LA before pandemic, believe it or not. And I wanted to create basically a media company with me at the center of it and teach people about what actually goes on behind the curtain on Wall Street and on Silicon Valley.
Interesting. So what's something that most people don't know about what goes on in Silicon Valley?
Oh, man. Where do you want to start? I do it in an entertaining way because I used to do stand-up comedy. But one of the things that I've always found funny is, you read a lot about IPOs, especially last year. You read about all sorts of companies coming. Coinbase just went public. Snowflake went public. There's so many things that happen behind the scenes. And you read all the time also about, I have so many friends in startups. You read about valuations and, this company just raised that valuation. But one of the stories that I love to talk about is Wework, right? What happened with Wework? I mean, this was a company that was apparently this, new real estate tech, blah, blah, blah company. It was worth $100 billion. And then, last I heard, they're going public through a SPAC at $8 billion and blah, blah, blah. It's like, how does that happen, right? How is it possible that a bunch of people can get together and think something's worth $100 billion and then 4 months later, it's only worth $9 billion?
It's so scary.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I think the reason is because in that world where you're not already public, you don't have to report filings, you don't have to give people information. Really what happens in the world of venture, I think for the most part, is you have a bunch of guys that get together and it's a game of hot potato and it's a race to see who can get in first. And then for the people that get in later, they're basically hoping that they're not getting in too late and becoming bag holders. And the ultimate bag holders are going to be the public investors when these companies go public.
Yikes. Yikes.
Yikes indeed.
I don't know much about venture capitalism and like raising money and IPOs. I obviously have stocks and I have Bitcoin and some other altcoins. And
nice.
I watch CNBC every day. It's pretty much the only channel I watch. But I'm a holistic type investor, right? I got my money here, got my money there. I own real estate. I'm not worried about like I'm not investing in companies, right? Clearly I don't have enough money. But my question is there's no black and white metrics on how to evaluate a company. Like, why is it so like intrinsic or open-ended and other people have so many different ideas of what a company's actually worth?
I think your approach is the right one, to be honest. That's when I think of investing, I think people have a home run mentality when it comes to investing. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh man, I gotta put all my money into this one thing, and that's gonna be.
It's selling a dream, is what it is, right? Like it's good to go to sleep. And sorry to cut you off, but like it's good to go to sleep at night thinking that my altcoin that I bought off Pancake Swap is going to go 100x from my $4,000 investment. Like
right.
it's
Go to
every
the
night I
moon.
go to sleep hoping and praying that this altcoin is going to 100x. So keep going on. But that's really what it is, right? It's just like everyone's just hoping, like you're buying a dream.
Yeah, and look, I come from an immigrant family. I come from I'm a first generation. My parents are from Calcutta. A lot of this I always thought was internalized just from my own childhood and upbringing, where everyone's deathly afraid of investing because the number one thing that they're concerned about is it goes to zero.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do invest in something, people almost feel like it's not worth investing unless it's going to 1000x. Whereas when you take a holistic long-term approach, you diversify, like you said, you have some real estate, you have some stocks, but even the stocks, it's more maybe an index or something broad, right? Because you're basically just making
Fangs.
these.
I'm in the fangs.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, you might as well, right? Those are the only stocks that have even moved the index for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between all the fangs, that's like 6-7 trillion of value, right? So who's really driving the market? Is it Boeing or is it Fang?
Right.
It's very surprising to me. And one thing that is very surprising to me is in the world of Wall Street, in the world of Silicon Valley venture, and then even when we look at our friends and we look at what people are doing, all the crazy stuff people are doing with Dogecoin, it's not internalized in us that investing is something you do long-term and it's something you dedicate to. Yet when you ask people about fitness and you ask someone, oh, you did 10 sit-ups yesterday, do you have a six-pack? The first thing they're going to be like is like, no, bro, of course not. Like it takes a long time and it takes hard work and patience and you got to trust the process. But then when it comes to investing, it's like, oh, you only made 20% on that stock. Like what was the point? You should have just bought nachos.
Dude, well said, bro. Well said. It's like everyone wants a ton of money right here, right now, but they're not willing to be patient. They're not willing to put in the work. And that's
Warren Buffett said it the best. And I don't quote him that often because I actually think Warren Buffett could do a better job of articulating what his investment strategies actually are. It's kind of funny. No one can ever. I haven't seen a single interview where Warren Buffett actually goes step by step into an investment and says, all right, well, this is why we bought Coca-Cola. These are the metrics. These are the prices. He kind of just always talks about like, I buy McDonald's. But the one thing he said that I do resonate with is no one wants to get rich slow.
Mm-hmm.
And we're living in a world now where people, if it's not 100x, then people don't care.
Right. It's funny. You know who Michael Saylor is, obviously, right?
Of course, the God.
The God, diamond hands for life. Yo, this guy, Michael Saylor, for anyone who doesn't know who Michael Saylor is, he's the CEO of MicroStrategy, a very successful company that brings in a lot of money. I don't know much. I believe it's a
Software
tech company.
Yeah.
Software company. And long story short, this guy, Michael Saylor, has been doing a ton of interviews recently on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space because obviously cryptocurrency a year from today was at 6,000 and now Bitcoin's at, I mean, it sold off a little bit, but it's at 55,000, right? So if we all would have bought Bitcoin before, the government printed $2 trillion in the last year, it would be a good investment for sure. But my point is Michael Saylor talks about how his company's making a lot of money and they show a ton of like cash reserves on their balance sheet, but no one wants to invest in his company because there's not a lot of growth potential because all the investors these days, they just want to find, the small cap companies that are going to 10X. Like a 10% return these days, or like you said, a 20% return, people don't even want that anymore. So like, what is that saying?
I don't get it.
Let me ask you a question. Because I brought you on this podcast because I want your advice. You are an expert in your field. You have a ton of experience. Are we in a bubble? There's obviously a few different sectors that we're talking about, but when it comes to the stock market, are we in a bubble? Is the market inflated right now?
I love this question because my response is always, what does it matter? Right? What are you going to do? Hold all cash? I personally don't believe we're in a bubble because to me, the way I define a bubble is, and I don't know, I actually don't know how old you are, but I'm
30.
Oh, okay. I'm 33 and I graduated college in 2010. And in 2008 was when the credit crisis started. You're old enough to know what that is. I do have some followers though that are like 16, 17, 18 years old. And they're like, oh yeah, the credit crisis. Like I heard my dad talking about that.
Yeah.
That to me is a bubble, right? So what happened during the credit crisis? You had a real estate market that's fixed, right? The amount of properties are essentially fixed. Obviously, you have people borrowing money to build more. but the amount of people that want to live in real estate or can own houses is somewhat, at some point, fixed. The amount of land is fixed. And what's going on around you isn't changing as fast as the prices are, right? Like you had real estate ripping in random areas like, places in Nevada and all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
But what was really changing around them? Was the crime rate going down? No. Were the schools getting better around them? No. And all of this price action, all of these housing prices that were just shooting up year over year, it was all driven by fictional demand, right? It was driven by the fact that people were taking mortgages, then there were all these derivatives that were based on the mortgages, and ultimately this was a house of cards, no pun intended, that was going to crash. What we're dealing with now is, what really are we dealing with? When people say, is the stock market a bubble, what are they really talking about? We're not dealing with anything artificial. We're actually dealing with real interest rates being zero, if not negative, which is what our boy Michael Saylor would say.
Negative. It costs money to keep your money in the bank.
Yeah, it costs money to keep money in the bank. It costs money to hold cash because of two things. A, you're not getting any actual interest or return on it. But even if you were, right, even if you were to get interest, how much interest would you need for it to really be worth it for you to not to invest it, right? It would need to be whatever the return is on the S&P, in my view. This is what Michael Saylor would say. It would need to be at least 12, 15, 20%. So if you're making anything less than 15, 20% on at least stock investments, I'll say, in my view, you're losing money. And what's fueling the market now, in my view, isn't necessarily fake stuff. I think it's a lot of real stuff. We've had actual real growth, fundamental growth in our economy. The economy's coming. People keep saying it's coming back. I'm not sure it ever really left, but obviously we did go through Corona and there was some temporary unemployment.
Well, let me
but
ask you a question. When it comes to the economy, when it comes to the word economy, how's the economy doing? Are we talking GDP or are we talking unemployment and like middle class? Because, I sit at Panera Bread every morning, every single morning at Panera Bread, and there's all these old guys, they're in their
Panera.
70s, 80s, and they got their laptops out and they're trading stocks. And I talk to them every once in a while, and I tell them about cryptocurrency, right? And I tell them about and also one thing that you didn't mention about the cost of holding your money is inflation is the number on inflation right now, to me, is probably pretty inaccurate. We just printed more money in the last 18 months than we did in the entire history of the country, right? So our purchasing power for USD is going down dramatically. And that's the type of thing that lags, right? You don't see the impact until, a cheeseburger is $35 at Duffy's.
Yeah, until you actually need a Bitcoin to pay for a cheeseburger.
Until you actually need, some Bitcoin. So, when you say the economy is doing well, what are you really talking about?
I'm talking about jobs. I think I look at the biggest driver of GDP is going to be something like consumption, right? People having money to spend. And Lord knows they have more actual cash now to a certain degree, right? Because you've had stimulus payments. We have all this money that's now being dumped into infrastructure projects, which is ultimately going to be paid as salaries. And a lot of these businesses also have, and look, we can also get into some conversations about how our government distributes money, which I think is disastrous. But in general, I'm talking about, just think about where we were before Corona, right? Before Corona, markets were at all-time highs, right?
Everyone's rich. Everyone's rich.
That was still that was like a year and a few months ago. Market was at all-time highs. Interest rates were still zero, and we didn't have all the money printing we're about to have. And now we're in a situation where everything's coming back to a certain degree, right? We're all getting vaccinated. The economy is essentially going to be fully open. Or I should say life is going, in my view, going to be back to the closest degree of normal that we would have had versus pre-corona in probably
we're there
6
already,
months.
right? Like you can
and I'm in California, right? I'm saying that because I'm in California. If you're in New York, it probably still feels a little bit like you're not.
True.
Yeah, if you're in Florida, you probably don't even know what COVID is.
Seriously.
So in my view, we're at the same situation. We're not even at the same situation we were before Corona because we're better off now. And what are you going to do now, right? Are you really going to say, I'm not going to buy? And we were talking earlier about what stocks are really driving the market. The large majority of stocks, if you're just looking at the S&P and you want to buy stocks, the large majority or at least a decent mover of how the S&P is going to do on any given day is really going to come down to a few names, right? It's going to come down to like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, all the FANG names. And those companies are all better situated now than they were a year ago.
100%. They don't even need HQ buildings anymore.
Absolutely. And the best possible, it's crazy because you know who really benefited from all this. And I think you were getting to this a little bit when you mentioned the middle class. The Corona is the absolute best thing that could have happened to you if you're a white collar worker, in my view.
Mm-hmm.
If you're one of these people at Google, like a product manager or something like that, or if you worked at Amazon, or even if you worked in finance to a certain degree or consulting, you were able to now, first of all, you just realized you never actually needed to travel or do any of that stuff.
Right.
You could have you did your entire job from home. And I don't want to talk about like the mental effects of it. Obviously those are important too, but at least physically speaking, and in terms of your costs, like, those are the people that really benefited from Corona. It's the people that actually had to show up to work that got a little screwed. Right. So I think that was the biggest telling thing for me. I mean, even for me, right? Like, I'm a content creator. Before Corona, I think it would have been difficult for me to manage all this stuff because it would have been weird to just be home all the time doing this, right? While my friends are out or while people are out, and you could still have meetings with people. But because of Corona, I was able to sit down and actually focus on what I wanted to do.
Right. Dude, you hit the nail on the head, and especially when it came to my life, because once Corona started, I'm a real estate agent full time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, do I go out and show property to people with a mask and gloves on? This is kind of risky. And at the time, a little bit of a quick personal anecdote. My grandpa passed away, and my grandma was all alone. And I took the opportunity he was 96. He was a beast. He lived an incredible life. He was amazing.
Wow.
But thank you. Yeah, he was biking like 80 miles 3 times a week up until he was like 93 years old.
Wow,
So,
what a G.
Yeah, he was a truly a beast. But I took the opportunity to rent my house out and move in with my grandma. And this was right before COVID started. COVID happened, and I'm like, I got all these buyers, I got all these listings, and now COVID, I can't go out, risk getting COVID, and bring it home to my grandma. Mm-hmm. So I was like, shit, okay, I'm renting my house out. That's providing me with income to cover all my overhead. But at the end of the day, there's money to be made. And, I think I'm just going to take my foot off the gas a little bit because no one's going to be buying houses, right? No one's going to be buying real estate during COVID. What are you, crazy?
No one's going to want to move out of the city.
Right. Exactly. So I actually started an online coaching business. I'm like, hey, I help a lot of people with their mental health. I'm a consciousness coach. I'm really passionate about personal growth and self-development, and people have seen my growth over the last few years. Let me see how this goes. And I started, let me tell you something, the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. Working from home, doing these podcasts with leaders of the industry like you, and helping clients fulfill their needs and their wants and their desires, reach their goals and dreams faster than they would if they tackled that challenge and obstacle by themselves. And so you're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. White collar jobs, whether it's finance or
tech,
anything of that
consulting.
nature. Yeah. But yeah, man. And then the real estate market just went bazonkers. Everyone's trying to move to Florida left and right. Thousands of people moving here a day. Listings selling at 20% over asking price in a day.
I feel like I missed out on that. Is there what should someone do if they're thinking about buying an investment property right now?
You can't. I mean, if you can't. It's got to be off market. It's got to be
maybe that's where the bubble is.
Is that where the bubble is? Oh, this is the thing. I don't think it could be a bubble because of population growth. Like people are popping out kids left and right, and there's only so much dirt on the earth. Unless Elon and SpaceX can really get us on Mars in the next 10 years, which is pretty feasible, I don't see real estate going down. To me, it's an inelastic product where everyone wants to live in Florida because there's no state income tax. Dude, my property taxes on my condo is $700 a year.
That's nuts.
It's free. That's literally nuts. My house is free and it's paid off. So it's literally free, right? So
if you're in Bitcoin and you got it at a decent time, you probably paid off your property taxes for a decade.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be real. I'll disclose my Bitcoin position right now.
Ooh.
I got in just under 50K, but I believe in it.
That's still early though. But people don't realize that's still early
in a macro sense. Yeah. What about you? What's your view on crypto?
I'm dummy long Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. Those
Cool.
are the only two cryptocurrencies that I own. I've owned them since 2016, 2017. And
Wow.
look, I got in, remember, 2016, 2017, I was a young guy. I was working at Goldman, living in New York City. So you want to talk about taxes. New York City, one of the most expensive places in the world to live. And not just because lattes, I mean, the real inflation is the $10 lattes that you have to buy every day, right, on the way to work.
Right.
But I didn't have a lot of money to invest, to be honest with you, right? For most people that are in jobs, right? And I mean jobs where you have a salary, you have benefits, you have some form of retirement investment, like a 401k with a match. I think for most white collar workers, at least in the beginning of their career, you have so much overhead because you're paying to live in a city like New York or maybe even LA. And a lot of your money's going to rent, a lot of your money's going to food. And then also you're in a nice city, right? You want to have a bit of a lifestyle. So I didn't have a lot of money to just invest in things like Bitcoin and stocks. And frankly, at the time, Bitcoin was still one of those things that you thought a bunch of guys on Reddit were buying, right? Like it wasn't as official as it is now. But I always knew that this was something that could be interesting in the future. And my view is always, look, if something has a 2% chance of 1000xing or 100xing, why wouldn't you just put 2% of your money in it? Right? At the end of the day, what's going to happen?
Philosophy right there. You should write a book on that philosophy alone.
I'm a big poker player, and that's how you play cards, right? You sit down and you're like, all right, well, that's how you price out a hand, right? If I have a 5% chance of winning a hand and I'm not going to make 20x on the hand, then it's going to be too expensive for me to play, so I'm not going to play. And look, that's what the VC philosophy kind of is too, right? They're just playing high stakes roulette, but the reason it works out is because there's no cap on the amount of money you can make on a project, right? If I have 1,000 investments and 999 of them go to zero, if I 1000x that 1,000th investment, then guess what? I just broke even, and I can go to all the galas, and I can go to all the charity events, and I can get on all the podcasts and tell people how brilliant I am. So, at the end of the day, I had one or two Bitcoin from 2016, 2017, and I started getting in a lot more. You mentioned the stimulus, the first round of stimulus that came out last year around March, April. That's when me and a bunch of my buddies. And the other thing I'll say too is if you're the best way, make investing social the same way you make the gym social. It's not just about finding experts. If you and your buddies just get together and start talking about this stuff and reading about this stuff and sharing info, you'll end up building conviction and you'll actually do something, because that's the number one thing that keeps people from making money. It's not being wrong. It's not understanding something for the most part. It's really just not having the conviction of when you're right about something or when you actually feel comfortable at something to put the money in and then to have the diamond hands to hold it through. So me and my buddies were looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum again, and we're like, look, maybe it's time to actually revisit this, because what is the world going to do? The US is about to start issuing trillions and trillions in debt. M2 is going to shoot up. Inflation is going to be high as hell at some point, maybe not now, but absolutely later. And what exactly is going to happen? Where are people going to put their money? And also at the time, the stock market was going bonkers. So we were like, maybe we got to start buying this stuff again. And, I personally was going through a bit of a crazy time because I just moved to LA and I was like moving around in LA a lot because I had to switch apartments because of COVID, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't really get a chance to sit down and focus on it until June, July, but that's when I started just buying heavy. And right now I only own Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the only two that I can see myself really holding. I don't like to trade in and out of stuff because frankly, I gotta focus on creating content and entertaining people and stuff. I don't want to sit in front of a screen for 18 hours a day wondering why Dogecoin is now at 32 cents and not 29. So that's my personal philosophy. I also think, Bitcoin and Ethereum, these are the coins that are at the foundation of everything else. I like to look at fees paid. So Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to generate the most fees, which means to me, people are actually using it for stuff, not just trading in and out of it. So I don't think you can go wrong holding those two. Obviously, if other opportunities come up, or if you're willing to do the work and read the white papers and go on the Twitter threads and get on calls with people like you who know their stuff, unless you're willing to do all of that work, my view would just be buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, and enjoy your day.
Dude, I love that you said that because you're just strengthening my conviction behind it. I mean, I have Bitcoin. I got a little bit of Ethereum. I'm gonna keep buying on these 10% dips,
Hell yeah.
and I'm not gonna look at it until the next halving in 4 years,
Yeah.
right? Like, I wish I
There we
would have
go.
gotten to it sooner, but better late than never, right? And in a macro sense, if we print another $2 trillion, and America, obviously, the foundation right now is super shaky because of government and just a lot of other things that we're not going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are just going to store their monetary energy in Bitcoin. I mean, I'm getting 6% on my Bitcoin right now through my BlockFi account. So,
Yeah.
that right
It
there
produces
is
income.
enough. What's up?
It produces income, right? It's also an income producing asset. It's not like gold where you'd sit on it and you can't even look at it because it's in a bank somewhere.
Right. Okay, wow. So another bull on crypto right here. Are we still in the bull run?
We're not. I don't even know if I think we're early, bro. I still think we're early. I think who do we have buying Bitcoin right now? We have all the right people. We have the institutions, but how many more could be buying? Look, Michael Saylor is a god amongst men, and
God,
he's doing God's work. But at the end of the day, MicroStrategy is. I should look this up, but MicroStrategy right now, I think, is what, an $8 to $10 billion company, maybe.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
when
they're
he
holding
started,
300 million in cash, so they're worth a couple billion for sure.
yeah, and most of the market cap has grown because obviously he's put so much money into Bitcoin. And
Genius.
Elon, yeah, which is genius. He made more money, or the market value of MicroStrategy went up more because of his Bitcoin investment than the combined earnings of his company for however long he's been operating it. And then look, MicroStrategy is a software. It's a legit software company, but not all software companies are going to be Microsoft, right? Not all software companies have a market of 100 billion trillion, right? So he's doing something that I think a lot of other CEOs should be considering, because a lot of companies with bigger cash balances, like, oh, I don't know, that one in Cupertino in California that makes iPhones, they have Apple has, I believe, $600 billion in cash. Just sitting around.
When you say cash, let me ask you a question. When you say cash, are you talking about green dollar bills or like an account with a bank?
I'm talking green dollar bills, bro, or treasury bills, right? That's
Bro,
what most of these companies
literally have $600 billion of Benjamin Franklin sitting somewhere.
Yeah, and they're not even sitting in the U.S., I don't think. They're usually sitting elsewhere. They're in Ireland or they're in tax havens, right? These guys don't want to pay tax any more than we pay more taxes than a lot of these corporations do. And
sorry, go ahead.
No, but all I'm saying is, if Apple has 600 billion plus sitting in cash or, in an account somewhere, I don't know if it's like Pablo Escobar in a room stacked up. I think, it's probably in treasuries or something like that. But let's just say inflation is 2% a year, right? And we already know that's probably a super low ball.
It's 4%. They're getting crushed.
They're losing $24 billion a year. They're literally burning $24 billion a year by doing nothing. And if Elon Musk can put in $1.5 billion into BTC and start accepting BTC for payments, blah, 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 I see no reason why Tim Cook isn't going to come out at some point and be like, you know what, we're putting 2% of Apple cash balances
100%. And that's the thing. If they moved like, let's say 2% of 600, you said 600 billion is how much they're holding on their balance sheet.
So that's the last number I remember. Yeah.
Right. It's probably more at this point, right? So, 2%, I mean, I cannot do math of that high numbers, but that would be like, a few $1 billion of Bitcoin.
12 billion right off the rip. And I mean, Bitcoin's a $1 trillion market cap. So would they move the market? Maybe, maybe not. But
1%, that's 1%, I think.
Yeah, and if Apple gets into Bitcoin, I can't see any other CEO not getting into it. So,
dude, you got to be stupid not to be in Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, I agree. And frankly speaking, we've only been talking about corporate people getting in, right? That's the only thing we've been talking about on this podcast so far. But there's a whole list of other things that could happen that aren't dependent upon corporate people getting in, that could still get Bitcoin up to 100, 150, 250 million dollars a coin by the end of 5 to 10 years. So I feel like if you're not in Bitcoin at all, you're basically just shooting yourself in the foot.
Could you imagine 10 years from now, a $1.5 million BTC? Like, what would the world look like that all these like random gamers on Twitter are now worth Billionaires, bro. Billionaires, dude.
The entire Forbes list is just going to be a bunch of Reddit usernames and me and you.
Bro.
The Lambo dealership will finally have a sign outside of it that it's never had before, sold out.
Dude,
and
sold out. We're all driving our Lambos through Miami, just crushing.
Oh, dude, you're gonna have a Lambo for each day. But I mean, look, it's the world could be some of the other things we haven't talked about is the other value that Bitcoin really provides. I mean, that's the number one question I usually get, and I'm sure you get it too. Is, well, what's the value behind Bitcoin, right? Like, what's the value? What's the reason? Well, aside from the store of value versus gold argument, which clearly many corporations have already been buying to, and the cash management argument, which clearly many corporations have already been buying into, there's a great just personal / like freedom type argument, right? And if you look at
currency,
and if you look at countries like Venezuela, Bolivia, I think there obviously there are a couple of countries in Africa like Zimbabwe that have experienced crazy hyperinflation, which basically makes your money absolutely. I mean, it means your money's absolutely worthless, right? You can't, and I don't think a lot of people in this country really understand what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. It's your entire day is basically built around how are you going to get food? Because you got to wait in lines, you got to do all these other crazy things. Everyone else is going through the same thing as you. I mean, Bitcoin allows people to basically not be at the mercy of their crazy country's money policies, right, which, we complain about here. But at the end of the day, look, if things continue to go the way they're going, obviously there will be some crisis or something happening. But at the end of the day, things are fairly civil here in America, right? For the most part, I'm sure people will argue against that. But looking at other countries, I would say, look, I'm glad I'm here and I'm not there. But there are plenty of other countries that have like a real structural use for Bitcoin. And we haven't seen them really use it yet. But once that starts happening, I think, all the pieces are going to come together and you're ultimately going to see 500K a coin, because there's going to be little bits and pieces of all these different scenarios occurring at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully it's sooner than later. I would love to see a $500,000 Bitcoin in the next 2 years.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? That would be amazing. Before I turn 40, that would be nuts.
Oh my God. And then another reason, because when people ask me that question, what's the true value of Bitcoin? Obviously it's the global currency, obviously what everything you just described, but also, if we want to talk about value, what's the value of a diamond? What's the value of Barrick gold, right? Like Barrick gold, it ain't shit. I don't care about gold. Thousands and thousands of years ago, the king of the land wanted to decorate his mansion in gold and have a gold toilet and have a gold throne because, we put this intrinsic value behind this color, right? And yes, there's a finite supply, right? Sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I'm just laughing a lot. I'm trying to think of all the rap videos I've seen. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So like now it's like diamonds, right? And obviously diamond, there's a finite amount, but you can replicate a diamond so easily, right? No one even knows anymore, right? And this intrinsic value behind diamonds and gold, and it's the same thing with Bitcoin. What's the intrinsic value of digital gold? Well, right now it's $55,000 per coin. Right. So that's my argument. Like what's diamond? What's gold? It's the same thing as a Bitcoin.
Well, I would say it's Bitcoin is more useful. It actually has use. No one's using gold for electricity. The only use gold has is for Indian weddings. Okay. The wife comes out. She looks like a walking gold bar. And look, don't get me wrong, I love it. And I love jewelry. I love gold. I love diamonds, but that's all it's useful for, right?
Right.
It's not a useful store of value. And even now, I think there's a trend away from diamonds, right? You don't have, I don't know about, like, we're in the same generation, right? Like if you were to get engaged to someone, obviously, look, at the end of the day, everyone wants a diamond, but I do think there's a big trend of people just saying, why would we spend $10,000 or $20,000 on an engagement ring when we can just have a longer honeymoon, or we could have a Bitcoin, right? Like propose with a Bitcoin, dog. You know what I'm saying?
God, propose with a Bitcoin. Show her
she'll say yes.
The wallet.
Show her the wallet and then be like, oh my God, is this your wallet? Like, no, baby, it's ours.
Dude. Wow. No, baby, it's ours. Dude, can you please make a video about that?
I think I will actually. I gotta.
To everyone that's listening right now, go ahead on Instagram. Follow Anish on Instagram at mitranyc, mitranyc. He posts a ton of videos, hilarious stuff. Dude, Anish, my guy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Dude, my pleasure. Great to meet you and hear about all the awesome work that you're doing. I'm a really big supporter of you, and I feel you're a great example of someone who's taken life by the horns, created the life that they want, and I just like how open-minded you are. I come from a background where I told you earlier, my parents are Indian, and my parents are great. I love them. They are more progressive relative to some of the stereotypes you see. But you grow up with such a fixed idea of what success means and where money comes from. And even when you work in some of these white collar industries, it's a lot of groupthink. All these finance guys, they think the same way. All these Silicon Valley people, they think the same way. And talking to someone that's as open-minded, progressive, and just out here getting it like you are, super motivated. I'm going to have a great day.
Let's go, baby. Let's keep our health first. Let's keep our happiness first. Let's not check Coinbase. Okay. No, seriously, because cryptocurrency, and I kind of did want to talk about this a little bit, but I know you're super busy. I'm kind of short on time. Is like checking your stocks and checking your crypto every day is so negatively impactful on your mental health, and it's something that I need to be better at. I need to be better at it.
We all need to be better at that, man. It's like checking to see if she read the text. Even worse, actually.
It's even way worse. Way worse, because the first thing I was doing for the last 2.5, 3 months was as soon as I wake up, I'm checking Binance to see what freaking Bitcoin's at. Like it affects my day. And then it's so funny. Bitcoin runs up to 64,000 and I'm like, yes, I did it. We did it. Right. So happy. Now we're selling off like crazy. I think we're at like 55, maybe. Who knows? I'm not even going to check it because it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And look, real quick before we end, the way I manage that and what I tell other people is have a price target in your head and have a time, right? So the way I manage that is my price target on Bitcoin is 100K by the end of the year. So that helps me manage the volatility a little bit because it's like, okay, my price target is still the same. There's been no new information that would change the price target or the timeline. So I don't care. If anything, when I see it sell off, I'm like, oh God, I need to find more cash so I could buy more.
Right. Dude, I love it, man. I'm just going to keep buying. I'm going to keep buying. And I'm going to live humble, dude. I'm going to live humble. Ooh. I got my Tesla. That's all I need. I got my Tesla. I got my bike. I got my iPad. I don't need anything else.
Oh my God, you're such a you should move to LA, bro.
Oh God, dude. Are you wearing a freaking Rolex Yachtmaster right now?
No, ew, no. Can't be wearing a Yachtmaster. That's half a Bitcoin right there.
Dude.
You could buy the yacht. You want the Yachtmaster or the yacht?
Dude, exactly. You want to wear the Yachtmaster or do you want the yacht? Let me ask you a quick question. What's your vice? Like what do you really like that is just you put your money into that might not be the best decision, but you're okay with spending money on?
I don't know if I'm okay with it. I am trying to curtail, but I do like going out. I like going dining. I'm a little bit of a basic B in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up with a lot of money and I always wanted to try nice things and do nice things. And I lived in New York for a long, long time. And anyone that's been in New York knows tons of restaurants there. I love having good experiences with friends, taking trips. But, at the end of the day, it's about wanting to do more of that in a meaningful way. So I've always been pretty disciplined about investing and not spending money on frivolous things. So I don't go crazy on the real and go shopping. I don't go on StockX. I don't spend too much money on impulse purchases. It's mostly I go big, so it'll be like a big dinner or a big birthday party or a big trip. Like me and my buddies are, when things open up and we're all vaccinated, but when things really open up, we're planning on taking a nice big trip in the summer. And I think that's healthy. I think it's healthy to have things to look forward to and to plan things like that are meaningful with friends or family or whoever you're with. But my big vice is definitely going out, popping a few bottles here and there to celebrate a win or, just to reflect and look off a rooftop and have a cocktail and just think about life.
Dude, and that's an investment. That's an investment because nothing's more important than your heart being filled with joy and peace.
Ooh, I love that.
Right?
That's amazing.
Happiness,
I'm gonna put that on a wall.
Put it on a wall, dude. Tape it to your bathroom mirror. When you take a piss every single day, I want you to read that. Okay? Because happiness is temporary, joy is forever. Right?
Ooh, I like that.
And a lot of the things you're doing, bro, those are investments, because your happiness is more important than how many BTC you got. So I love it, man.
Facts.
Dude, Anish, thank you so much for coming today. I'm going to be real with you, bro. This was one of the best conversations I've ever had on this podcast. I love talking about financial advice and giving even though I'm not a financial advisor.
Yeah. Oh shit, we should say that in the beginning.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description.
None of this is financial advice, but listen to it though.
Yeah, buy Bitcoin at $6,000, not financial advice. Yeah. But I try to keep things as simple as possible. But for this conversation, I think it was important for us to get kind of deep and be specific and detail oriented about what's actually going on and what's moving stuff and how we could prepare, right? Like, you and I, it would be cool to get rich real fast, but that's not what our goal is, bro. We just want to stay ahead of the curve. We want to stay ahead of the curve and go eat some good steak. Have a $40 cocktail.
And yeah, absolutely. You know the drill. And when you're in LA, well, that's exactly what we'll do.
Done.
And the one thing I'll tell people too is like, look, when you get rich, it's not going to matter how long it took you to get there. Right? Like you're going to be fine. And plus, I don't even know if it like with this Bitcoin stuff, at least, or with investments, a lot of it is about just being in that centered mindset, right? That's how you deal with volatility. That's how you deal with swings. It's how you deal with new information. So I feel like a lot of it is really about like, you need to be mentally prepared to also even be rich, because you don't want there to be a situation where you do make an investment and it does and I've seen this happen with friends, family. I have some very successful friends that have founded public companies, and you see the mental breakdown that happens when they just can't deal with how much they have. So if you have a centered mindset, you'll be fine in your investments, regardless of what's going on in the waters. And when things do start happening for you, you'll find that it doesn't really affect your day-to-day that much.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because if you can't manage $10,000, you can't manage $10 million.
No way.
Dude, I'm coming to LA. We're going to go have some fancy dinner and cocktails on a rooftop.
Yes.
By then, in the next 3 months, Bitcoin will be at over 100,000. We're going to go cop the Lambos together. All right. I'm going to get my Lambo in orange. What color is your Lambo?
I got to do green then. I got to do
right. Green. Exactly. Dude, I love it, bro. I love it, dude. The epitome, the stereotype of a Bitcoiner is so fucking real.
I got to do lime green slat. We out here.
To the moon, baby. Diamond hands, bro. Diamond hands. Anish, thank you so much. Everyone that's listening, go follow Anish on Instagram at mitranyc. That's spelled MITRA-NYC.
Yeah. Also on Twitter.
And on Twitter. Have a wonderful day. We will connect soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Zach.